Fantasy managers, welcome to the FPL review show. Here we are, ready to review Gameweek 3 and preview Gameweek 4. If you're new around here, don't forget to follow, like the video, and give us a subscribe on all of the socials. Tonight, I'm joined by Quentin Dunn from the FPL Amateurs of Aus. He's here again to help review the game week. I know he watched every single game, and I know he's a happy man because his team, Man United, won against Liverpool today in what was an absolutely huge victory. So, Q, welcome to the stream. How are you going, mate? Obviously, I'm assuming you're absolutely buzzing.
Yeah, mate. It was actually a great morning of football. The result was great. FPL wise, didn't really matter too much, but the cherry on top was just messaging all of my Liverpool friends that really brought a tear to my eye that I could really jump into their DMs with a bit of excitement.
Good stuff. I bet you were happy. Obviously, like I saw the game and I couldn't believe it. I think I was in shock after the way United had obviously played in the first couple of games. To see them come out and actually get the win and perform well, and there was a lot of players that looked really sharp. It was it was a really good performance by United. But what we'll do is in this stream we're going to go through some of the players that stood out. So we're going to bring up the fixtures and just talk about some of the players that stood out in each game, and then we'll go through some topics that caught our eye over the weekend: the defensive double ups, the Man United assets. And I'm going to go through the Perisic versus Royale debate from Spurs, because obviously everyone's talking about those fullbacks at the moment. And also, if you're in the comments or you're watching, get your live questions in, and we will go through them as well at the end. So, Q, we're going to bring up the fixtures. This fixture list has been kindly created by Q, and we'll go through each game, and we will talk about the players that caught our eye in game week 3. So let's bring that one up. I'm sure there's a lot of players that caught your IQ in this morning's game, like we just discussed. But let's talk about the opening game. Obviously, Spurs versus Wolves. You know what? I'm happy to take Spurs versus Wolves. Obviously, everyone that watches the stream knows this is my side. So I think it's got to be Perisic that really caught the eye on this, and on that left-hand side, and Emerson Royale on the right-hand side for me. Anyone else, Q, that caught your eye?
I actually didn't mind the Gonzalo Guedes that played up front. I was actually a bit surprised that he made his debut, because Jimenez was on the bench, so Jimenez did end up playing. But he actually looked really good, got in some good positions, and definitely one to probably keep an eye on. I don't think their fixtures are great in a few weeks, but I think at 6.0 he's a midfielder, but he'll be playing up front. So I think he looked really good, but definitely probably wouldn't jump on straight away.
Yeah, no, I agree. I thought he looked really good for Wolves, and I think with Wolves, though, like you said, it's kind of a wait and see. They don't score many goals. Obviously, they haven't scored for a couple of games. If they can get that goal scoring. There's definitely some good assets in there from a Wolves perspective. And then, like I mentioned before, from a Spurs perspective, I thought Perisic was brilliant. He got the flick on, he got the assist, he got the bonus points. He was up and down that left-hand side. His prices rise today to 5.5 million. So I think it's really worth getting him in for this game against Nottingham Forest. They did say he might have a potential knock on his calf, but Spurs do play the last game of the weekend on the Monday night in England. So there's obviously that chance of him to recover in time. And then on the other side, you got Emerson Royale, 5 million. He's nailed down a start now. He looked brilliant again. And he gets on the BPS a lot because he does take a lot of touches of the ball. And he's quite accurate with his passing and stuff. So I think they're the two that I'd be looking at. We'll talk about our first topic, Emerson versus Perisic. What are your thoughts, Q? Who would you prefer out of the two right now? Who would you go for?
Just probably for me, outside obviously Perisic on corners, he didn't really offer what Emerson Royal did, because Emerson Royal, terrible delivery into the box, but in attack he looked really good, got quite high, and that's been multiple occasions this season. You've seen him get really high into that box and be sort of on that back post for the ball sort of coming out. But I think I guess Perisic, you've got the upside of set pieces and great ball delivery. But yeah, I don't know. I probably wouldn't go
More
either at the
Emerson Royale?
moment. Yeah, like I really like Royale, but his ball delivery still isn't at the
It's not
standard of
great.
what Perisic is. But I guess you get an Emerson Royal for a bit cheaper, and then also you're getting him for his, I guess, positioning. So it's a tough
No,
one,
that's
that
true.
one.
It is. I think it's an interesting one because they both do similar things, but also the opposite things. Like they both play in that fullback position, that wing back position. But Perisic has probably got the final product in the delivery. But then Emerson's got those short passes and he's really good on the ball. So, and he's obviously younger, probably less injury prone, and might be able to keep his place a bit more prolonged. So, yeah, tough one. Q is more of an Emerson man. I am probably going to edge towards Perisic because of his potential to take corners and obviously can use both feet, so he does have that final product. But I
Are
think
you
they're
worried
both.
about the injury cloud sometimes over Perisic, whether
Yeah,
there's always, I
I
guess,
do.
that risk.
Yeah, I agree. I do worry about it, but I think if you get Perisic in, and then there is a knock, or he doesn't play because there's too many games, the Champions League starts, then you can potentially just do the downgrade to Emerson Royale. So, there is that option. Obviously, you then got to book in a transfer, but yeah, that is a good point. I think Perisic just edges it for me at the moment. I think there's potential to get some big hauls, but I do like the fact that we both have a different opinion on it. That's always good in the FPL world. But that's that was the Spurs Wolves game. Let's go to
I
the
might just
Palace
throw
Villa
one quick
game.
question to you, Matt.
Yeah.
Is it any more clear with Son versus Kane, or is it still sort of?
It's tough. It's tough. You know what? I think obviously I've got Son in my own personal team, and he looked rusty. Did still hit the post, and he did still get in some opportunities and some openings, but he didn't look like the Son we know. So I think right now it is Kane. He's obviously got the pens. He's got the form, and Spurs have got this new set piece coach, and they've scored from 2 set pieces now, and Kane has scored from them both headers. So he can also offer that with pens. So I think at the moment Kane is winning that debate, but that could change. That could change, but right now, Harry Kane for me.
Yeah.
For sure. So we'll go on to Palace versus Villa. Obviously, sorry, and Spurs won that game 1-0. Edged it out in the second half, Harry Kane with the goal. He got a booking as well, so then he ended up in 5 points, which was a shame for Harry Kane owners because he was sitting on 9 points at one point. So yeah, good win for Spurs, tight at the back, and again, no goals for Wolves. So we'll go on to the Crystal Palace Villa game. In the end, it was Crystal Palace 3, Aston Villa 1. Zaha, who we did speak about as a differential on our deadline stream and also on the FPL Amateurs of Aus pod. I believe Q may have mentioned Zaha as the differential and also Eze as well, who both look really good. And I'm going to say that those two are my standouts from Palace. Obviously, I've been talking about Zaha for the last week now, but he's on pens. He's playing as a striker. And then you've got Eze, who's just so good on the ball. So I'd probably say they're my two from Palace. As for Villa, maybe Ollie Watkins at the moment, but they've got a tough patch of fixtures. I'd probably be avoiding Villa for now. But is there anyone that caught your eye?
Yeah, no, I fully agree. I think Zaha was just sensational. I thought Eze probably deserved a goal with how much effort he put in. He was getting into great areas. But I think Bailey, I did get him out this week in my wildcard just to give me the funds to go to KDB, but he looked really good and he didn't really get the chance week 1 in that Villa side who looked horrible in attack to sort of showcase, what we see in preseason, but they did look a lot better in attack and he was very unlucky. I think he hit the crossbar in the second half off absolute worldie of a strike. But I think if you still have him, he's a good option just to plug and play if you need to start him or, great first bench option as well.
Yeah, good stuff. And I think, Villa really need to start picking up their form. Obviously lost his game. Steven Gerrard's got a little bit of pressure on him now. So, tough times for Villa. But like we said, from Palace, Zaha and Eze are definitely the two to watch. So Palace with the 3-1 win there. Zaha taking out the 3 bonus. He did miss the penalty. It got saved. And then he ended up getting the rebound, which he's done a couple of times now. He's missed a few pens and has got the rebound. But he comes out with the 12 points. So we'll go to the Everton versus Nottingham Forest game now. And in this one, it was an interesting one in terms of who stood out, because not many people are that keen on Everton players, and everyone's sort of looking at Nico Williams from Forest and Jesse Lingard and such. But I think from an Everton point of view, Gray did stand out for me. Obviously got the equaliser at the end, but he was busy the whole game. I thought he had a really good game. And Pickford got the assist. He's obviously a £4.5 million keeper this year. So I think those two from an Everton perspective. And then again, Jesse Lingard was buzzing around the pitch. And Nico Williams was 5 minutes away from a clean sheet as well. So they're probably the key ones for me from this game. Was there anyone else from Forest that stood out, or Everton? I know you've got a couple of Forest players, Q, that you're pretty fond of.
Yeah, no, Brennan Johnson, I thought he looked really good. He got the goal as well, which, I think on our deadline stream, I did say that I think this is the week that, he's going to get off the mark. He probably should have had nearly a second goal as well. He looked really good. I thought from Everton, both these teams didn't really interest me much. Like nothing really stood out, like you said, but Mikalenko, looked good going forward, has good ball delivery, but he just doesn't have anyone to really get the ball into. They don't really have, the Calvert-Lewin up front. But, this game, it was, I was at work, so I was listening to it on the radio. It was match of the day, unfortunately, but it was actually a good game without anything really happening, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
but yeah.
No, it was a bit like that. It was quite a open game, and there was actually a lot of chances, and it was only 1-0, but the game itself was quite enjoyable. So yeah, I think it was an interesting one, especially because there was a lot of people who were counting on that Williams clean sheet, and they were they're absolutely horrified at the end when it went away. Gray ended up with 2 bonus points. It was your man Johnson who got the 3 for Forest. Obviously, he got the goal. I know you're a big fan of him, like you mentioned. Gray got the 2, and Pickford got the 1. It's not every day a goalkeeper gets an assist. So, yeah, look, there's definitely some value in in these sides potentially. But yeah, 1-0, and sorry, Nico Williams owners. I do feel for you because it's very hard to take. I had it the week before when Matt Cash got the clean sheet wipeout at the end against Everton. It is a tough one to take, but we'll go on to the Fulham.
I had to draw in my tipping comp, so I was happy.
Yeah. So Q's happy, he's happy with that one, but we'll go on to the next fixture. And just for those that are watching on the stream or listening in, if you can just give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and get your comments into the chat. Get your questions in. We will bring them up at the end as a Q&A. I know we've got a couple of questions that have come in, and we'll get to them at the end. So get them in. Get some comments in the chat, and we will go from there. But let's go into the Fulham Brentford game. Fulham 3, Brentford 2. What a game! What a game this was, and some really big FPL assets in this. I had Tony in my team. He got the goal, could have had a hat-trick. He had 2 disallowed goals. He really caught the eye. Mitrovic with another goal. There was Paulinho from Fulham, who just looked brilliant this game. He was absolutely everywhere, arriving late in the box. So they're probably the key ones for me, I think, from this one. Obviously, David Raya from Brentford, was also making saves in goal. But I'd probably say they were the keys for me. Anyone else that sort of caught your eye?
Andres Pereira was probably, outside obviously the ones you mentioned, was a massive standout for me. I thought the attack always started with him, whether it was the first ball and then sort of he'd make his run into the box, then he'd get the ball again, and then he'd play another ball. Like he just seemed like he was orchestrating everything, and then ended up getting an assist off the free off the corner, which I mentioned at the start. I think it was our Liverpool stream where his delivery is so good, and he's got so many good targets to aim at in the box. And Paulinho, I guess you would have picked a Mitrovic header, but that header was absolutely money. And yeah, I think that at 4.5, he's probably the best value player at the moment in FPL.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. How can I forget Pereira? I've gone through Tony, Mitrovic, Paulinho. I know there was Cordova Reed as well. How have I forgot, the 4.5 million Andreas, who saved a lot of people's game week coming off the bench. And I know he also infuriated a lot of people that didn't start him because he got 8 points. And he's ended up with the 3 bonus, which I know did mystify a few people. Andy Chats FPL, welcome to the stream. I know you didn't have the best game week. I'd seen some of your stuff on Twitter. Give him a follow if you don't. But mate, remember, it's game week 3. So many game weeks to go. I know you will get better over the season. Welcome to the stream.
No, sorry, I was just going to touch on Pereira as well. Had 3 shots, 4 chances created with the 1 assist as well.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's how he's ended up on the 3 bonus. He was absolutely everywhere. Welcome to the stream, Matt Cowlin. 4.5 million for Stansfield, started for Fulham. It's a very, very good shout. I think there was also was it Reed? Is it Harrison Reed, the midfielder that everyone's been talking about? So yeah, that's very interesting. Obviously, he's mismentioned he got the assist as well. So there's definitely a few 4.5 million assets from Fulham. You've got Pereira, you've got Reed, you've got Stansfield. So if you're on a wild card, you don't have one of them and you need that enabler, you've got 3 to choose from. So really, really good value. If we pop over to Brentford, Tony, on another day, he gets 17 points. Like I had him in my wildcard team. Phenomenal stuff. It was brilliant when he scored. And obviously he's ended up getting a couple of bonus points. I think he's a must-have if you're on a wildcard. He's an absolute must-have.
I think Andy Chats FPL is activate his wildcard this week, so...
Tony's got to be in there, Andy. You've got to get Tony in. He's hit 3 game weeks in a row, and I'll quickly go through his fixtures now. And he's got some brilliant fixtures. I know this weekend he's got Everton at home, which is a great game for him. So he's got 8 points in the first game against Leicester, 9 points against Man United, 8 points against Fulham, which could have been 17 points because he obviously had 2 disallowed goals, and one of them was marginal. I don't even think it was offside. And then now in his fixtures, he's got Everton home, Palace away, who are letting goals in. He's got Leeds at home, who can be quite an open side. Southampton away, who are quite an open side. Okay, he's got Arsenal at home, but then he's got Bournemouth away as well, who obviously have been letting in goals. So it's a really, really good opportunity to get Tony in now. And you can save money.
Round 15 as well is when their fixture run ends. So a massive amount of games.
Loads of games, and you can downgrade, say, a Haaland when the Champions League starts. Bring Tony in, and then you can do the De Bruyne move as well. So and we will get to Man City soon. And just a quick one from Andy, exactly that. He's not worrying just yet. He just popped the wild card, so he's thinking about a lot of options at the moment. So yeah, mate, good luck with the wild card. Look, on the flip side, I know you're a big Arsenal fan, so you're probably happy about their form at least. So you've always got that. But we will go on to the Leicester-Southampton game. Just another quick one from you, Andy. A couple of talking points, just question for you guys at some point. Bring them in. Get all your questions in. I'll go through them at the end. We had a couple at the start of the video, so I'll bring them up at the end. So get them all in. If you write your questions in the chat, I'll go through each of them at the end. And welcome to the stream, FPL Mike Kaplan. I know you'll be a happy man with all these points at Arsenal again at the moment, so I'm sure you will be happy. Q's just ducked off for now, so it's just going to be myself going through the next game. So what we'll do, we'll go on Leicester versus Southampton. This was a brilliant game as well. 2-1 to Southampton in the end. Leicester obviously took the lead. James Maddison again returns. Really good free kick. He's just such a fixture-proof player. He's got a really good goal record against Saints as well. So Maddison, if you're a Maddison owner, probably just stick with him now. I know he's got Chelsea next, but on all those set pieces, he's injury-free. He's firing. Really good option to keep. From a Southampton perspective, Ward-Prowse, assist, again, shows you can have him in your team, and at any moment, he's got such a good delivery. He's also on set pieces, pens. So a really, really good option to have there from Southampton. And then Che Adams kind of just come back from the dead, come off the bench, scored 2 goals, hit the post at the end, and could have had a hat trick. So he could potentially come back into our teams again at some point during the season because he's been a bit of an FPL legend the last few years. We also had the likes of Bella Kotchop from Southampton getting the assist, and Janipo caught the eye from Southampton. And also the goalkeeper for Southampton was really impressive. Again, lots of saves. He's only 4.5. So definitely one to keep the eye out on. I think that pretty much covers Leicester versus Southampton. There's probably not anyone else from Leicester right now I'd look at other than Maddison. Vardy just looks like he's not quite where he's been in the last couple of seasons. I wouldn't be going near their defence. And then Danny Ward, I think if you are on the the wild card. You could probably keep him as a number 2 keeper. He's only 4 million. I know apparently he's rising to 4.1, or he might have risen. But if you've got Everson as your number 2, I believe he might have price dropped. So it's probably time to get rid of that double up and make sure you get another goalie in, because you can get the likes of Sanchez from Brighton, who's on form. You can get David Raya as well. You've got some real bargain options for 0.5 more. So probably start moving away from Danny Ward as your number 1, but you can keep him as your number 2. So what we will go on to now is the Bournemouth versus Arsenal game. And yeah, well, this was a brilliant performance by Arsenal. Obviously, it can slightly pain me to say it, because I'm obviously a big Spurs fan, but credit where credit is due. Arsenal were brilliant in this game. Odegaard with 2 goals. Didn't expect that. He's never been someone I've looked at from an FPL point of view. He's always someone I've looked at as kind of like that third assist type of player, a bit like a Luka Modric. He sort of pulls the strings without ever getting the goals. But yeah, he really did catch the eye. Couple of goals, ends up taking the 3 bonus points. Saliba with an absolute rocket. The week before he gets a -1. This week he comes out and scores a brilliant goal, clean sheet. I think he's a really good option. And I was having this chat with a mate today, because he's on a wild card. He's got he was going for Zinchenko, and then he's got Saliba, and we were talking about it. And I think for me, although I've got Zinchenko on my own team because he was in my wild card, I'd probably be going more towards Saliba, because you save yourself. I think it'll be 0.4 now, because I think he's risen to 4.6. And he's just as much of a threat going forward. Obviously, we saw that he can shoot. He's a set piece threat. Whereas Zinchenko, he kept dropping into that midfield. He wasn't really pushing forward, like Kieran Tierney does when he plays on the left-hand side. He kept dropping into that midfield spot, and it was allowing Xhaka to push forward. So that was an interesting one. But I think from an Arsenal perspective, Jesus you keep, Martinelli you keep, and then your third option, if you haven't got one for me, has got to be Saliba. I think he is a really good option. So you can probably triple up on Arsenal for at least the next sort of 5 or 6 games. They've got 3 home games in 4. Fulham, Everton and Villa are in that, which are 3 teams you'd expect Arsenal to win against in current form. They've got Man United away in there. So, yeah, I think there's going to be some good times for Arsenal fans. And as for Bournemouth, there's probably no one from them right now that I'm too keen on. I think, again, it is a wait and see with Bournemouth. So 3-0 to Arsenal. Odegaard with 3 points, Saliba with 2, and then Ben White and Gabriel with 1. Which had another comment from Andy. Leicester are an absolute mess. The 8 million double up has gone exactly how I expected it to. Well, yeah, that's true. Talking about 8 million players, obviously Saka is one from Arsenal. Hasn't been sort of delivering for his owners. I think if you've got him right now, you just keep him through this fixture run, because he will deliver. We still don't know if he's on pens, because Arsenal haven't got one yet. So, there is that potential there with Saka. But if you're on a wild card like you are, it's probably time to get rid and put the money elsewhere. But we'll go on to the Leeds versus Chelsea game, which was just unbelievable. This was I couldn't believe this. 3-0 to Leeds. Didn't expect it at all. Rodrigo and Harrison with double-digit hauls. Phenomenal stuff. I think, again, one of them is probably going to become essential with this fixture run. I think if you're going to pick between the 2, it's going to be Harrison for me, because when Bamford's back, I can eventually see Rodrigo's minutes being limited, or maybe he might drop out the side. And that's been proven under Jesse Marsch. Even in the second, I think it was the first fixture, of the season, Rodrigo only got 60 minutes. And then Bamford got the injury in the second game. Rodrigo played the whole game, and then he played this whole game without Bamford. So I think I'd probably be edging towards Harrison based on minutes. And Harrison's just looking like the Jack Harrison of 2 seasons ago. So really, really big standout from a Leeds perspective. So definitely look at getting him in. From a Chelsea point of view, we were definitely disappointed as Reece James owners. I was a Reece James owner, playing at that sort of right central defensive position. But I'm not too alarmed. I do think he will get back into that right wing back position. And when he does, he goes on that right-hand side, and then Ben Chilwell, I think, might potentially come back in on that left-hand side. And when they're flying up those wings, there's not many better than them. I think Robertson and Trent are probably the closest when on form to those fullbacks. And I think we will get those Reece James hauls again. I think as well, I do remember reading Tuchel was saying he does sometimes play James in that central position because of his injuries, and he tries to preserve him. So, that's probably a good thing for us owners, because I do think he'll go back into that wing-back spot. And I think his fixture against Leicester has got huge potential. And I do think they'll put Chilwell in that left-hand side, which they did last season. So when Leicester played Chelsea last season at the King Power, Chelsea won the game. I remember Rudiger scoring a header, Chilwell got a haul, Reece James got a haul, and I can see similar this weekend. I think Cucurella owners, though, he will probably drop into that left central defensive position, and then it'll be Chilwell and Reece James who will be the ones that I think will get the big points. And then we'll see Azpilicueta, Thiago and Cucurella in that defensive position because Koulibaly is injured. So that's how I think that will go. 3-0, Harrison and Rodrigo were the main winners with the bonus points. But yeah, don't sell Reece James just yet. And we've got the West Ham versus Brighton game. Brighton obviously won this one in the end, 2-0, comfortable. West Ham yet to score a goal. Haven't started the season well. They definitely need to get a couple of new signings in. Again, Sanchez just brilliant in goal. Gets the bonus points, gets the save points. 4.5 million keepers, what he started as. Really, really good pick. So again, if you're on a wild card, bring him in. Brighton have got some great fixtures. You've also got the likes of Dunk in defence, who's really cheap option. So there's a lot of potential there as well. Leandro Trossard looked good. Danny Welbeck looked good. But yeah, I think from Brighton, it's definitely all about their defence. They don't let many goals in. Get Sanchez in if you're on a wild card. From West Ham, I think they're in a void at the moment. Wait and see. They do get some good fixtures coming up. But yeah, there wasn't too many players that impressed me from them. And obviously not scoring a goal. I think we can sort of stay away from them for now. It's all about the Brighton assets in this one. We'll quickly run through the bonus points in this one. So we had 3 points from McAllister, who's obviously on pens. So Pascal Gross owners probably want to consider someone else because he's obviously not on the pens. We had Veltman, who got 2 points, another cheap Brighton defender, and then Sanchez with the sole bonus point. So 1-0 to Brighton. And now we'll go on to the Newcastle Man City game. And we do have a question in the comments about Man City, but we'll bring this up in the Q&A at the end. So in this one, I think we'll start off actually. One of the topics tonight was the defensive double ups. And I know a lot of people had the Cancelo Walker double up. And I think for now, and we saw it with the Chelsea double ups, and we've seen it with the Liverpool double ups. I think the start of the season is too early to have a defensive double up. There's forms everywhere. There's no set lineups. Everyone's trying to find their feet. I probably wouldn't continue with the double up with sort of Walker and Cancelo going forward. I think if you've got Edison, it's different. It's a goalkeeper, but I think once the Champions League comes in, Walker's probably going to lose his place. They've got Gomez to come in as well. Laporte's going to come back from injuries. John Stones is coming back into the team. So I think Cancelo's the safe bet. But I think these defensive double ups right now, I just don't think it's worth it. I think you pick one asset from that side, whether it's City, Chelsea, Arsenal, Spurs, and just pick the one. Even Liverpool right now, I just don't think the double ups are worth it at this stage in the season. Q is back, which is good. He's back. Welcome back to the stream. We're just about to go through the Newcastle City game. I was just having a quick chat about defensive double ups, and I don't think they're worth it right now. But we'll quickly go through this one. It was 3-3. Newcastle lost a 3-1 lead. This was just a phenomenal game. And we saw the return of Bernardo Silva with a goal and assist, 3 bonus points. There was St. Maximum, who was just unreal with 3 assists. Absolutely tore Walker apart. And then Gundogan with the 1 point and the goal as well. And then Nick Pope for Newcastle. Phenomenal stuff. Still getting the saves. He looked brilliant. And Kieran Trippier, who I know myself, I took him out of my team on the wild card. So did Q. So he's definitely one that if you own him, keep him, because he just showed that you can be playing against the best teams like a Man City, But when you've got a set piece like that up your sleeve, it doesn't matter who you're playing. So 3-3, anyone that caught your eye in this one that's not been mentioned, Q?
Nah, I think you mentioned all of them. I thought KDB probably should have ended up with a couple of assists. I thought Haaland was probably unlucky not to finish with a couple of goals. So, I was quite thankful that, he only got the one goal. But yeah, St. Max was just absolutely ridiculous. And, I think he's definitely an option, especially for their fixture run.
He was unreal, wasn't he, St. Maximum? And like having a quick now, so we'll go through to his fixtures. And he's well priced as well. So he's 6.4 million. He's gone down in price because obviously he didn't return in the first couple of games. So there would have been a lot of managers that sold him. And this next few fixtures, he's got Wolves away, which you can imagine him having a good game in. Liverpool away, the way they've been playing, could be potentially a good fixture for him. And then he's got Palace, West Ham, Bournemouth, Fulham, Brentford. He's got some really good fixtures. So again, if you're on your wild card, I know there's a couple of viewers in the comments that I know are on their wild cards. He's someone to look at. Getting those assists, he's looking fresh, and he's always a good player to watch as well. The Haaland De Bruyne debate we will talk about at the end, but yeah, De Bruyne was brilliant. He was threading those balls through. He was getting shots on goal. He was absolutely everywhere. But at the same time, Haaland obviously only got the one goal, but he could have quite easily come out with 2 or 3 if it wasn't for Nick Pope. But yeah, phenomenal game, 3-3. And we'll go to the final game, which was Man United versus Liverpool. Phenomenal game as well. United have ended up winning this one 2-1. Liverpool got a lot of injuries, and I think, it's probably wasn't quite talked about enough. There's no Konate, there's no Matip, there's no Jota. So they've got a lot of players missing. No Thiago, and I think that's probably playing its part in this this Liverpool side and their start to the season. So, but yeah, United, brilliant result. Sancho with a great goal, put them 1-0 up. Marcus Rashford with the second, and obviously Salah just showed what a threat he is. Even when he doesn't have the best game, he can still score goals no matter who the opposition is and no matter what the score is at the time. So really good game. One of the topics tonight was was Man United assets. And you know what? I do think after watching it last night, that result could springboard Man United onto a little bit of form. And I think Marcus Rashford, at his price point, he's gone down to 6.3 million. He's a midfielder. He's got Southampton away this weekend, which is a good fixture for him. And then he's got Leicester away in the game after. And like we saw here, Andy did speak earlier and say Leicester are an absolute mess. I think this could be a great couple of fixtures for Rashford. And I know Man United, Leicester games tend to be really high scoring. So for my own personal side, I'm looking at bringing Rashford in that game week 5 against Leicester and then having him because he's then got home game against Arsenal, which is obviously tough. But then he's got Palace, Leeds, City game, which is tough, but Everton away and then back-to-back home games after that. So I think with his price being at 6.3, low selection of 4.8%, and he got 10 points against Liverpool. I think with him being a midfielder playing as a striker, he is a really good option. I prefer him to Jadon Sancho just because he's 1.2 million less. So really good option. Definitely can start looking at some United assets now. Probably those two are the key ones for me. Still wouldn't go near their defence and still wouldn't be going near Ronaldo as it looks like he's probably going to leave the club anyway. And then as for Liverpool, I know there was a lot of talk about Trent, selling Robertson. I got rid of the double up on my wild card. Like I mentioned earlier, not too keen on defensive double ups at the start of the season. But I wouldn't sell Trent. I think if you've got him for this Bournemouth game, keep him. We know what he's capable of. I don't think this Liverpool bad patch will last for too much longer. And I think Bournemouth is the game that they'll come out and get their confidence back up. They'll get a few goals. This could be the game for Trent to come back into form. So I wouldn't sell him going into this week. I wouldn't sell Salah going into this week. And I wouldn't sell Diaz going into this week. I'll just hold for one more week onto these Liverpool assets. See if you can even roll a transfer. There's a lot of home games this week. And I'd be looking at keeping those Liverpool assets. Welcome to the stream, Tassin Gomez. We'll answer your question in a second. We're going to do a quick Q&A. But that's the game week 3 wrap up and review of the players that caught my eye, they caught FPL Amateurs of Aus, Quentin's eye. He's obviously left the stream for now, so it is just myself. So what we'll do now, we've gone through the Perisic Royale topic. We've done the Man United assets. We've done the defensive double-ups. I'll quickly talk about my team. I got 49 points this weekend. I was on wildcard. It went pretty well, I thought, in the end, because the week before I didn't have the 19 points from Jesus. So I'm still recovering from that. But I had the likes of Tony, who got me points. I had Ward-Prowse, who got me points. I still had Salah, who got me points. I had Jesus, had Martinelli, who all returned. But my captain was Son, who didn't return. And I was quite lucky that Haaland and Salah and Jesus didn't do too much. So I got away with it. My transfer this week, I'll reveal it at the end of the week. I'll be doing a deadline stream prior to deadline live. I will reveal my transfer on there. I have already made it. Don't normally like making my transfers early. I actually did this as one of the games finished on the weekend to make sure the player wasn't injured. And I don't normally like doing this because of injuries and because of what can happen in training. But these price rises are so volatile right now. I just had to be sure. So that transfer I will reveal at the end of the week. Let's go into some Q&A before we wrap up the podcast. And we're going to start with the first question tonight. It was from one of our Facebook users. So sorry, it doesn't have your name. It just says Facebook user. He's asked, Rodrigo is a must-have. You know what? I did pick him as a game week 2 differential, and then he ended up bagging the 2 goals against Southampton. And at that time, I said, I think he's got to come into your teams because he's a midfielder, positioned as a midfielder, and he's playing as a striker. But after watching Leeds Chelsea, I think Harrison's the one that you've got to go for, because Bamford's already said, he's openly said in an interview that he's going to be coming back to fitness soon. And I do think when Bamford comes back, Rodrigo's minutes could be a bit more limited. So I actually think Harrison could be more of the must-have than Rodrigo. They're both good options. But I think if you're picking between the two right now, I'd be going Harrison as the must-have from Leeds as opposed to Rodrigo. That's my thoughts. And the same user, I think, has also asked what to do with Son. That's a tough one because Spurs have got Forest this weekend away, which you'd look at and think this could be quite an easy game. But, Forest, Steve Cooper, he had one of the tightest defences in the Championship last season. Forest have only conceded 3 goals in 3 games. It could be a tight one. He has gone down to 11.9. Look, if you can afford the direct switch to De Bruyne, I would do it. If you've got 0.2 spare, I'd do the De Bruyne move. If you don't, and you've only got the 11.9, I wouldn't downgrade him. I wouldn't take a -4 to move, 2 transfers. I'd keep him then for this Forest game, potentially roll a transfer. And then game week 5, look to bring De Bruyne in for Son, and then obviously move someone else out. So that's what I would do. See if you can get De Bruyne in. And then another question we've had is come in from Andy Chats FPL. And what he's asked is thoughts on moving from Haaland to KDB. Pep confirming that Haaland won't start all games. I'm moving to KDB or Kane. You know what? That's the strategy I would go with. I think KDB is the one at the moment for Man City. He's playing in that position behind Haaland. He's putting brilliant balls in the box, threading balls through, getting a lot more shots on goal. He's looking dangerous. Haaland's obviously got, I know KDB's got the fitness issues, but so, Haaland's obviously got those fitness issues too. And I think, if you're on wildcard, go with the KDB option. I think he's the better option. He was also on free kicks on the weekend as well, so you've got that. If you've still got Haaland right now, he's still getting in all the positions to score goals. He's still getting chances, and he's definitely got a double or a hat trick in him at some point soon, because he was so unlucky on the weekend not to get 2 or 3 goals. So if you've got Haaland, I'd stick. But if you're on a wild card, I would bring in KDB. So if you're on the wild card, I'd do KDB. If you've got Haaland right now, I would still keep him for this next one more game week, and then try and work De Bruyne in, and maybe you could eventually downgrade a Haaland for a Tony, and then work KDB in. So yeah, if you've only got the one transfer, work KDB in. If you've got the wild card, you can bring KDB in straight away. And then we've got another question from Tarsin. So I'll just quickly show that. And also, if you are new to the channel, if you can just give us a like, a subscribe as well, it's much appreciated. Share the channel as well. All the support helps. And if you've got any questions, get them in now, because the stream will be ending in a couple of minutes. So please get your questions in on the YouTube. If you don't get them in now, you can also come on to Twitter, FPLMattDay, Instagram, FPLMattDay. Ask me questions anytime. DM me on there anytime. I'll be doing another live stream prior to deadline this week, with a bit more of a preview. We'll be going through, any injuries, any other transfers, any other price rises, any other questions you've got. So we'll bring in Tarsin's questions. If anyone's got any others, quickly get them in, because the stream will be ending in a few minutes. And he's asked, should I wildcard this week? And then he's come in with last question, Perisic or Zinchenko. All right, so in terms of wildcard, I don't know your team, Tarsin. So if you are live in the comments now, type your team down. But what I will say is, if your team is in a position where you've still got players like Matt Cash, even Bailey, Neto, who's probably not quite firing. You don't have De Bruyne. You don't have, the defenders like an Arsenal defender. You don't have Jesus. You've still got Danny Ward and Everson as your two goalkeepers. So if you need a lot of work and you need to make 5 or 6 changes, then I would say wild card now, because I'm looking at it and I'm just thinking, I don't normally advocate an early wild card, and I've used an early wild card myself. But I think if you've got too many gaps right now, you can afford to do it, because we've got a World Cup this year, which breaks up the season. And you get unlimited transfers after that. So this is the season where you can use an early wild card. And what you can do is you can probably leverage 1 or 2 bench options, like a Harrison, a Pereira, Andreas Pereira, or a Rodrigo, and those types of players. Create maybe 1 or 2 players on the bench that start. So it gives yourself a little bit of a squad. So then you can sort of cover yourself up till game week 19. And I think, with the fixtures, if you've got the Arsenal players in, a Spurs player, even a Liverpool player, a Reece James, and a couple of Man City players, you're going to be fine anyway. This is your team. So he's got his team up. He's got Ward and Everson, Trent, Cancelo, James, Walker. I think they're good picks. I think your defense is fine. Salah, Diaz, Neto, Martinelli, Andreas. To be honest, I don't think you need to do much there. If you've got 2 transfers, you could probably look at, because you probably want to replace Ward now. So if you've got 2 transfers, you could probably downgrade a Neto. You could even just roll 2 this weekend. Yeah, you could even roll 2 this weekend and then look to bring out a Neto, downgrade him, and then bring in someone better for Ward the week after. Or as we've had Andy Chats FPL said in the comments, you could even take a -4 to fix it. He doesn't think a wild card's worth it. I don't. I think you've got a lot of the players that are necessary. You've got Haaland, you've got Jesus, you've got Salah, you've got Diaz, you've got Martinelli, you've got Trent, Cancelo, James, Walker. So I think you could even just, save a couple, see what it looks like in game week 5, and then find a solution to take Ward out, and maybe downgrade or, somewhere else. But even goalkeepers, sometimes they're the last of your problems. It's kind of just, set and forget. I think for now you can probably just hold. I would not wild card that one. And you've also just said, if you don't wild card, you're going to get rid of Ward for Messiah or a 5 midfielder and get Zinchenko. I think that's the better option. Messiah is a good keeper, good shot stopper, save points. Leeds will keep clean sheets every now and then. They showed that on the weekend. And then Zinchenko or even Perisic, I think it's a great move for Walker. We even spoke about Saliba earlier on, who's an absolute bargain as well. So yeah, you've got options. I wouldn't wildcard yet on that. If I had that team that you had in game week 2, I wouldn't have wildcarded because I would have had Jesus and I would have had those extra 19 points. So yeah, I would not wildcard. So last question, it's come from Andy Chats FPL. He's got a couple of questions, so I'll quickly go through those. Any other late questions, quickly get them in. So Andy's asked, is going without Jesus on wildcard bonkers? You know what? I'm going to say I've changed my mind on this. And at the start of the season, I thought, nah, it's not bonkers. It's just go without him. There's plenty of other strikers. But I think for his price, the way he's playing, Arsenal have got good fixtures. And obviously, Arsenal well. You're a big Arsenal fan. I think you just put him in. I got absolutely burnt when he had those 19 points in game week 2, and I do think he's got that up his sleeve again. Whether it's against Everton, Villa in the next few games, it's obviously Fulham. I think Arsenal are going to score goals in those home games against those struggling sides. You've got the tools. Arsenal have got the tools and the chemistry. So I actually think, just put him in. Don't make my mistake from game week 2 because that was not a nice feeling, and I've been on the back foot ever since. And then you've also asked another quick one. Take award out for certain. Sorry, that was just in response to your wild cards I've seen. So yeah, drop Walker to Sleeper. So that is a good idea. And that's going to wrap up the stream now. So thanks everyone for tuning in. Appreciate all the support, all of the questions. Obviously, Quentin from FPL Amateurs of Aus was in the stream for some of it, but he did have to leave. So thanks, Quentin, for joining. If you don't, give him a follow, FPL Amateur of Aus. Give myself a follow, FPLMattDay on Instagram and Twitter, and like this video, share it, and subscribe to the channel if you don't already. I'll be back again this week. Stay on the socials. I'll be back with a live deadline stream, and we'll go through game week 4 in more detail, more of the fixtures, press conferences, all of the news leading into that. So, looking forward to it. Thanks everyone again for tuning in, and I will see you in the next one.